Welcome to Beyond Hormones, the Business of Wellness, the podcast for hormone and functional medicine providers who want a thriving, predictably profitable practice and maybe a little less stress along the way. Hi, I'm your host, Jody Layne, and I've worked with lots of clinics in marketing, sales, and business development, and I have seen what works and what doesn't. And here's what I believe. Hormone and wellness care should be available to everyone who wants it. And while providers know the medicine, many struggle with the business side of their cash practice. And that's where I come in. See, this podcast is here to share real strategies, real stories, things you can implement in your practice right away. So I am so glad you're here. Come on, let's go. On today's episode of Beyond Hormones, the Business of Wellness, you are about to meet someone who embodies both heart and mastery in our field, Mary Ann Butler. She's a nurse practitioner, a peptide expert, a longevity practitioner, and the founder of the wellness firm in Lumberton, Texas. But those titles barely scratch the surface. Mary Ann is one of those rare clinicians who never stops learning, never stops growing, and never stops lifting others up as she climbs. Her story is incredible, from pain management during the height of the opioid crisis to discovering hormone therapy to becoming one of the early adopters of peptides years before they were a thing, all the way to now, as she's building a consulting arm to help the next generation of providers. We talk about starting a practice with almost no space and no roadmap, the lessons she learned the hard way, the unexpected wins, what to look for in a marketing partner, and how to build a loyal team, plus where this industry she thinks is headed. And I'm going to warn you, this one is full of truth bombs, lots of goosebump moments, and some of the best advice I've heard in a long time. I am so excited and proud to introduce you to and have you listen in on my conversation with Mary Ann Butler. So, hey, everybody, welcome to the Beyond Hormones podcast. I'm here with another, I always say this, a great friend and a fantastic provider. This is Mary Ann Butler from the Wellness Firm. Mary Ann, how are you today?
I'm great, Jody. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think
so
you're
glad
great.
you're here.
Me too.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's just kick it off. You know, I know you pretty well, but the audience doesn't. So tell us just a little bit about who you are and what your clinic is and where you're located.
Yes, I'm a nurse practitioner, Mary Ann Butler, and I am in Lumberton, Texas, which is Southeast Texas. We like to say we're on the right side of Texas, right?
Literally.
Yes, I call it a longevity or preventative medicine clinic because it's not direct primary care. I don't really treat sick people. Not that some of my patients don't call for an antibiotic here or there, but for the most part, we're focused on how can we optimize your health and reduce your risk of aging as you go along. I always tell my patients, I cannot make you live forever, but I can improve the quality of the life you have left to live.
That is a very good statement. That's amazing. And you've been in business for a while. You're not one of the newbies that have popped up recently. You've been in business for what, 10 years?
Yes, about that. Actually, 2017. So yeah,
Okay,
close,
so
close
almost
enough
10
to
years.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's phenomenal. What was it that inspired you to go ahead and start your practice back then?
Actually, I was working in pain management at the time. And of course, this was when the opioid crisis was, full, becoming aware and that sort of thing. And I had gone to a large pain management conference and I met a doctor there named Forrest Tennant. And he was doing research on the correlation of central nervous system pain and drops in hormone levels or hormone imbalances, especially in women and things like fibromyalgia and then, increased joint pain and joint breakdown and things like that. I found that to be very interesting. And he invited us to be part of his research. And I thought this would be great to bring this back to my provider that I was working for at the time and to integrate something other than just leaning on pain medications. And of course, we were doing a lot of interventional. That was his favorite. He liked to do the spinal cord stimulators and injections and things like that. So the opioids are part of it. That's just the nature of the beast. So anyways, I thought, well, this would be great if we could reduce the amount of medications that our patients take. And of course, now knowing what we know, and that is that opioids bind up testosterone, right? So that's part of it too. And when we have less testosterone, we have more inflammation. So, you know, I didn't really understand that full force back then, but it did appeal to me. So I brought it back about the same time the pellet company was in town. And yes, and so one of their representatives had stopped by the office. And of course, my provider, who was not interested in doing hormone therapy at all, just, said, I'm not interested. But stopped him and kind of asked him some questions and things like that. But we just sort of let it go. But then I started, apparently, other providers in town started doing it. And so, with this knowledge from Dr. Tennant, and then my patient that comes in and says, well, I'm not hurting as bad as I was. My sacroiliac pain is better because women and sacroiliitis, it's like, oh, it's a thing. But, I'm like, so I started thinking about that. And at the same time, my husband started exhibiting symptoms of low testosterone. He went from being this always having a project when he came home to coming home and sitting on the couch and then peeling him off the couch, right? And then sleeping by 8:30 and not to be too or a TMI, but it was like in a married couple, in a marriage, there's that thing that you share.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yep. Let's get some of that. Yeah.
you know? And so, and I say that in jest, but let me tell you, that is actually a huge issue in marriages. And when I started doing hormone replacement therapy, I had couples that came in and expressed pretty much the same thing, only they were at the point where it was like, he does not attracted to me anymore.
Yeah.
Or no, I still love her, but it was a huge thing. So all of that together, I thought, well, let me find a provider in town and see what this is and what's going on. And that's basically what I did. And
So you looked for a hormone provider that you could go discuss all this with? Is that what you mean?
no, actually, one of the nurse practitioners I worked with in the ER, whom I had a very high regard for, I looked up the pellet companies because it really, at that time, it was the pellets, not necessarily
Right.
hormones. So I was going to ask or find out about what are these pellets doing that's making people feel better. And so I made an appointment for my husband and I made an appointment for myself. And we went and I had put him on a lot of testosterone boosting supplements kind of thing.
Yeah.
These are things you learn, you put in your little pocket of knowledge and experience.
Right.
Those things will make your numbers look better, but they do not do anything to increase the amount of testosterone available to the tissue, which is what makes you feel better. And I did learn that, but his numbers were high. And of course, that provider was like, "Hey, I can't treat you, but I can treat you," talking to me. And I'm thinking, but I'm not the one with the problem.
You're like, but I know better than you. I just don't know why I know better than you. So when did you go start getting your training so that you learned hormones?
Then I started getting pellets. One of the docs that I was going to, he said, you really should go to this training. And so he talked me into going, and I met Dr. Neil Rouzier there.
People, well, if you're listening to this podcast quite a bit, you hear that name over and over in WorldLink Medical. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm so glad I did because what he said, it just in his section, I was like, oh, I need to know more about this. And so I went up to him and said, okay, this is a great weekend, but I need to know more. And any provider wanting to get into this space, I would highly recommend that they look up World Legal Medical. It is a great educational platform, and you're going to get evidence-based, solid information there and a lot of it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But you didn't stop there. You said, nobody else is doing this the way I want to do it. So therefore, I have no choice. I just have to start my own business, which is
Well,
very bold and very much like you, isn't it?
yes, you're exactly right. I did. Because, like I said, the pain management provider I was working for, he was not much interested in it. And so I said, I'm going to do it. And it really wasn't that I wanted my own practice so much. I wanted to be able to offer this medicine to
Sure.
other people. Yeah.
And thank goodness you did. It's funny, you and I don't know this, but we have a very similar story, not in medicine, but in marketing. That's how I opened my first agency. I wanted to do this particular type of digital marketing and my boss did not. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll go do it over here. And
Yeah,
never thought about opening a business before then. But sometimes you just have to do what you've got to do that you know in your soul is right.
exactly. I agree.
So you opened your business. What did it look like when you started?
Oh, yeah. So I was in a small 250 square foot space.
Fabulous. That's good for people to know because a lot of people start that way.
Yes, and I leased it from a physical therapy group that we were doing business with at the time. So I knew those guys, and they were very generous in my rent and things like that, which gave me opportunity to go for more training and learning. So I kept it very small and did not get into a lot of overhead. And going to training, that's the other thing. You have the opportunity to network with other providers, which is where I met you.
Yeah, that's right.
And most of those said, don't take on a lot of debt in the beginning. So that's probably the smartest thing I did was just to let it grow organically,
Yeah.
not take on a lot of debt, just learn my craft, learn it well, and then let it grow.
I want you to say that again. Learn your craft, learn it well, and then grow. Yes,
Yes.
that's good advice because I do see practitioners these days starting to see what's out there and they feel like they're behind the eight ball. So they jump a few steps ahead. But you're saying, don't do that.
No, don't do it. If you want to really be confident about what you're doing, then get your education, learn it well. Yeah.
So you made some good decisions at the beginning. What would you say were some of the really big wins you had early on? Let's say the first like 2 to 3 years that told you, okay, this is the right thing and I'm going the right direction.
Oh, well, it would have to be the patients that I was treating, is the way I look at those big
Okay.
wins. Whenever you start with one individual and then she sends you her daughters, and then
Yeah, that's a very big compliment.
but this is where education comes in. It's like, okay, you're learning and you're going. So in the beginning, I didn't know all the things I say about PCOS that I know
Mhm.
now. And so in this particular family, the two daughters were coming. One of the daughters I didn't see again for a little while. So when the other one came in, I asked her, I said, well, how's your sister? She says, oh, she's fine. She's pregnant. And I went, well, is this good? She said, yeah, but she's not telling anyone because she's had 6 miscarriages. Yes. And I
Oh, I
said,
just got chills
oh, yes. And
because that was all you, girl. You
uh-huh.
made that happen.
She said, I told her at the time, I said, you tell her to call me. Yeah. And so I did. I held her hand through that pregnancy. And because not everybody in town understands what we're doing. And I said, you do not come off your progesterone. You do not come off of your thyroid, And so we kept her on those things. And she did. She had a beautiful baby girl. And and then her sister-in-law calls and says, I want you to do the same thing for me. I said, wait a minute. I am not a fertility specialist. This isn't that. No, I can optimize your hormones. That's what I know how to do. Right. So,
When
yeah.
somebody is suffering from PCOS, I remember when I first started in my clinic back in the 2000, I think it was 18s when she got pregnant. One of the girls that worked there, she had tried and tried. And our doctor put her on progesterone, put her on thyroid, and a few other supplements. And first try after those supplements got into her body, she got pregnant. So
Yes,
you can
yes.
do that.
Now that I know what I know, I
Yeah.
say, because I have women who have PCOS and maybe they have managed to have 2 or 3 children, but they think, well, it's not that easy. I had to do this or I had to do that. So when they come to me, I say, well, do you want any more? If they say no, I say, well, you need to be aware. When I
Yeah.
optimize your
Yeah.
hormones, this is
Right.
could, not that it will, but it could.
Right. So now you're like a regular person. You have to actually like take precaution.
Yes, exactly.
So let's get back to your business. So that's fantastic. What I'm hearing is that you were re-inspired by the patients you were treating and the success that they were having. What are some of the things that maybe happened early on that weren't so great that looking back, you were like, oh, if I didn't do that, maybe if there
Yeah.
was.
Well, I think that a lot of providers, I got hormones under my belt, I got peptides under my belt, and then you start looking at, well, maybe I want to do aesthetics, kind of a thing, or maybe I want to do something else. And so you can actually spread yourself too thin.
Yeah.
And so I spent a year which I'm not going to say it was a waste, but I spent a year training, spent a lot of money. I think I did not buy any expensive equipment. Yes. But just again, just learning the craft. I have a lot of regard for individuals who know the anatomy, who have honed their craft, who continue in their education and do a really good job at aesthetics. I'm not saying I didn't do a good job. I'm saying that I couldn't do the job I wanted to do
Yeah.
and do as good a job as I do with my hormone and longevity patients. So I had to make a decision. It's
Okay.
like I can either be an expert in this field or I can be an expert in that field, but I personally could not do both. Learn your craft, learn it well.
That's another great teaching moment because I think a lot of times, at least over the last, 7 years, I've been talking to providers, their decision making comes from what does the patient need? I never hear it from the perspective of what can I do really well? And I always come from the perspective, what can you sell? Do you have enough marketing? Do you have enough, ability to reach people? But what you're saying is, no, be the expert in the thing that you really
Yes.
enjoy. And then there are plenty of people out there that enjoy the other stuff, and you can go to them, be their patient.
That's it. That's it. And and you then maybe can work out a referral,
Absolutely.
agreement or relationship with that whoever you have the highest regard for in town, kind of a thing. Yeah, I mean, there's ways of working that, and I think your patients appreciate you more when they know that this is your area of specialty. You're going to help me here, and you're not just trying to generate revenue by adding
Right.
all this extra
Right.
stuff.
So let's talk about revenue for a second because I see this a lot. People start off, they open a clinic, they treat friends and family. Their friends and family bring in some referrals. You start feeling a little good. You got your schedule like, one third of the way filled. And then you've got to really start diving into either marketing or doing something to get more people in your roster. What did you do?
Well, it wasn't until, because this is what happened with me. It was more like you started growing and you added another person, and then you grow more and you move to a new location, and then you add another person, and then you keep going. And now you're like, oh, now I do have a little higher overhead and more
Right.
payroll. And so, how can I bring in those extra patients? So, for me, that, like I said, it grew slowly. So, it's just in the last couple of years that I started looking for marketing. And I think it's hard. It is hard to find the right group. And there's a lot of marketing groups out there that are like some of the clinics. They just want to automate all the processes. They want to slot you into their thing. And they want to they feed you phase one at this cheaper price, and then they create these extra problems that now they can come and resolve for you. Does it sound like the pharmaceutical industry? Oh, no, I didn't say that. So
I am not editing that out at all. That was awesome.
that's a whole nother story. But no, but unfortunately, that is the case. So, learn early on, be aware.
Yeah.
Be aware. And I think that finding you guys, it's almost like this huge burden has been
Oh,
lifted
thank
off of
you.
my chest.
Thank that.
And yes, and so I mean, we met up years ago, and then but I just really wasn't quite there yet mentally and in my confidence, even because that's the other thing too. You don't want to go out there and spend a bunch of marketing dollars, and
Absolutely.
yes, it reminds me of that restaurant that has a really good chef, but their service sucks.
Yeah.
So
Or
I
even,
don't.
like if you start selling a supplement and, the first 100 people absolutely love it. So you buy a giant 1,000 order and then it expires. Like you gotta know your limits. You gotta know how fast you can grow. And since, you and I've talked privately about some of the awful situations you've had with marketing and the amount of money that have gone out with no return. Now, after you've experienced all that crap, what do you look for? Like, what are some, let's say, three things that you look for in a marketing agency that okay, I believe I can trust them? Because obviously, marketing's not guaranteed, no more than hormones are guaranteed. So, what do you look for?
Yeah, so it would be the same as when you go to a doctor.
Okay.
If that doctor is not listening to you, if they're just simply staring at your labs and telling you what you need based upon the labs, and they didn't hear a word you said, that is
Yeah.
not a good relationship. You need to find another marketing group.
Yeah.
And that's what I experienced is it was like they weren't listening. Like I by now have an idea of who I am and what I can do and the value of what I provide. I don't want to discount it. I don't want to prostitute it. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't
Yes, I
need
do.
gimme, catchy, oh, I provide the skinny shot. Find a marketing company that wants to know who you are,
Yeah.
that listens to you, and then is very honest and upfront with you. This is where you are in your business. This is what you can realistically expect, but this is where we could take you.
Yeah. Totally. I'm just going to throw this in there too, because as I've been a marketer for what, 30 plus years, and I've always been the one that said to my clients, even before I got into hormones, we're going to fail sometimes. We're going to spend your money and it's not going to result in anything. If
Mhm.
you freak out, that'll be a problem. I'm not going to freak out because I'm going to learn from that. And I'm
Yes.
assuming this is the same in medicine. Like if you had
Yes.
the magic 8 ball for every patient of exactly what to do to dial them in and make them healthy, you would do it in a heartbeat, but it's a process and you
Yes.
learn with the successes and the failures.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
So you did start adding services though. So you became like the queen of peptides in this industry. What was your attraction to peptides? And tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yes. So I have to say that was God because, like,
Okay.
seriously, because at the time, no one knew what peptides were.
Mhm.
That had never come across my radar before. And it was simply a pharmaceutical rep that had come in trying to sell amniotic fluid to our pain management group, right? But I don't recall. All I know is he said something about peptides, and I said, "What? What do you? What is that? Right?" And he just kind of, oh, and I don't remember what he said, but whatever it was caught my attention enough that I started googling it on the internet. And at that
Okay.
time, the only thing I could find, and I had to dig for it, was a workshop that was recorded by A4M of Dr. Seeds and Dr. Laval, and they
Okay.
had that Maxwell, the Dancing with the Stars guy. And apparently, Dr. Seeds had helped him heal, and his girlfriend, who also was a dancer on the show, and helped them heal some injuries that they had. And so, this workshop was, oh gosh, I forget, it was a pretty long, several hours of workshop and that, but I was just hooked. And to me it was, this is the future of medicine, because this is cellular medicine. So when we think about hormones, it's what's going on the cellular level that is
Mhm.
important, right? Yes, we want our patients to feel better, but what are we doing for their overall health? What are we
Right.
doing to support their body? And this is the way Dr. Seeds would teach it. He's like, you give the cell what it needs to heal, it would heal itself. So I'm like, I gotta know more. I gotta know more. So I listened to that workshop multiple times until I picked up things like they started an International Peptide Society. So then I went and found that and I joined the International Peptides. And so you just join and then you start going and then you start meeting other people and you start learning. And I have to say, probably if we talk about like the biggest gains I've had, it's in the network of people whom I have met over the years at the different things, the educational platforms, brilliant people who have helped me with my patient care, who've helped me to do a better job as a longevity provider and preventative medicine provider.
I think that last statement is what made me fall in love with you. You are brilliant, but yet you do not stop with what you know. You are so open to everybody sharing with you because the more you get, the more you can give. I mean, that's just amazing. Oh,
I got you,
proud of
Donna.
you. I mean, because I mean, when we met and then I called you because we wanted to offer peptides at our clinic and we knew nothing about it. And so was that something that you were doing formally at the time, helping to train others, or that come kind of later?
That came later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you do
That's
now in a formal setting to train other providers?
Yeah, so I'm working on building a consulting business, right? And then I've been invited to speak. I've spoke for Dr. Steves on one of his Alzheimer's events, and then at one of the Congress, I presented case studies there for him. And so I'm working on actually doing more speaking. I have an opportunity with another group that trying to put that together. It's like
Awesome.
it's kind of at this point I'm like, okay, these are like such smart people. What do I have to offer?
Oh, you got
You know,
nothing to lose. Yeah, you could do it.
But then I work with a company where there's a lot of other providers
Mhm.
who are basically where I was 7 years ago. And that's one of the things that I want to do is start offering some kind of formal services with them, which I'm hoping to work with you guys on, because that way we can help more providers learn and grow and be successful so that they can help more people out there in their
Yeah.
communities.
So let's just talk about that for a second because I'm watching this. I mean, I've been in this industry about as long as you have. I mean, I'm not in medicine, but just as an administrative person watching the industry grow. And it's like a hockey stick. Like it's not growing gradually any longer, it's going exponentially. Do you have any concerns over that? Or are you excited about it? What's your feeling about that?
So this is my concern. My concern is that we have just like just about like everything that gets polluted, I guess you could say. And that's not that there's not really smart, non-medically licensed people out there, but to have non-medically licensed individuals prescribing, whether it's hormones or peptides or anything else, I'm like, that's not safe. And that is my concern. That's one of the reasons why it's growing so fast, because we've got social media and you've got people who are not licensed providers. I'm not going to say a name, but my husband came to me, someone who I have high regard for as a therapist, right? He does chiropractic work and he's got a great channel and he provides great information on injury repair, recovery, how to work around things like that. I've referred him to many of my pain patients, like you should go watch this guy on YouTube, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden now he's a peptide expert. And I'm
So when
like,
you say non-licensed, you don't mean non-licensed medically, but non-specialist in each of these areas. It's a little
And that would be
interchangeable.
taking a step further, because you can have a medical license, but not really know or understand this field. And if your intention is just to generate money and just to generate popularity, that's not fair to the people who are following you.
Yeah. And especially in peptides because there's a lot of places you can buy peptides as a clinic that aren't kosher, right?
Yes,
And there's a lot of confusion around what is allowed and not allowed and what your insurance will cover and all of that stuff. You are so needed out there. We need
thank
to
you.
start working like tomorrow and getting you out
Yes,
there. Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about your
Yes.
staff. So people ask me all the time, like, how do you get your staff to love working in the industry as much as you do? Do you have a method for that, or do you just kind of like hire off culture and
Yeah, so it's a good question. And the thing is that being small, that person was with me all the time. So
yeah,
they heard me talking, they heard me sharing, they saw the changes that occurred in people's lives, and they just, were just all in. Now we've grown, and just recently I've hired two more individuals who are not next to me the whole time.
yeah,
So you've got one that's at the front desk and you've got the other one that's at the medical assistant's desk, and they're just trying to learn their job,
right.
And so I think that can be a little bit challenging, is bringing them together and building that enthusiasm them that you want them to have for the kind of medicine that
Yeah.
we provide and how we provide it. It is overwhelming, especially for someone that say, both of these individuals have worked in standard of care medicine. Well, one has for years, and the other one just graduated with her science degree that certified her as a medical assistant. And
Okay.
so for them, even though they're interested, it's a little overwhelming,
Yeah.
right? So, kind of going back to the basics and really emphasizing the improvement in people's longevity, which in itself is hard. I think this is what's always been hard about peptides in the first place.
Yeah.
That for all of us that have been in this space for the last 7, 8, 10 years, and that is conveying to your patient that some of these peptides you don't feel immediately. It's understanding what it's doing for you, in your cardiovascular health, in your cellular health, in improving, your recovery and things like that, in slowing down that aggressive aging process, those kinds of things. So reducing inflammation. It's like, I'm inflamed.
I
Yes,
didn't even
Laura.
know that. Yeah, right, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could agree with you more. At our clinic, we actually sent every single person that worked in the office, no matter what their role was, to WorldLink. They experienced course one. Now, that's extreme. I'm not necessarily going to say they recommend that to everybody, but it's funny because you said that when you were smaller, the one of the things that was so great was this person was very well trained. So it's finding ways to really train somebody. And maybe it's after they learn their role. Maybe it's
Mhm.
6 months in, but there's a fear, I think, a lot of times of providers that don't want to invest a lot of money because you might lose this person. But the alternative is they're not as good.
Well, and to me, if you've got someone who's a good worker and
Mm-hmm.
someone with a good attitude and someone that shows up every day,
Yeah.
then invest in that person so they want to stay.
Thank
So
you.
that, and it's not always just money, it's better understanding their job, better understanding the value that they bring to other people. It's helping them build a sense of pride in being in your clinic.
And it will probably change the course of their family's life. I know that when I started working, when I picked up Florida Center for Wellness as a client, as a marketing agency, that was the moment that my entire life changed with my husband because I didn't know what any of that stuff was. And who knows if I ever would have learned it. So it's more than even just them being happy showing up to work. It's going to change a lot of things. Yeah. Let's talk about the relationships that you have with the pharmacies. So you're the only person I've ever met that really leverages the relationship that you have with pharmacies. Was that intentional, or did that kind of just happen because of your kind of personality and the way that you engage?
I think that the latter,
Okay.
it's more the way that I engage, the fact that I value the network, so I want them to value being associated with me. And so I never really thought about it from a gains perspective as much as it is just a networking perspective. Whether I'm going to a conference or like one of my very dear friends, her name's Christy Fury, she's in Albuquerque, and we met at a hormone training and just hit it off. And then she was interested in peptides. So she comes along with me to one of the peptide conferences and I introduce everybody I know. She's like, oh my gosh, I would so never talk to all these people if it weren't for you. But,
That's
we need
fantastic.
to be better connected. I think that it's kind of sad. People who live in neighborhoods and they don't even know their next door neighbor, things like that. You go to the gym and everybody's got their earbuds in and
Yeah.
nobody talks to anybody. This is one of the blessings about being an older person.
As I'm thinking back to the last conference we saw each other at, and I think I only did half a workout. But we reconnected and talked for what, 25 minutes? It was amazing.
Yes,
I love that.
exactly.
All right, let me ask you some questions for some of our new folks that maybe are thinking about getting into the business or thinking about their fear. Like they're all in on the medicine, but scared about the business side. What would you say to somebody like that who's thinking about opening up a hormone clinic or a longevity clinic or a peptide clinic who is terrified of the business side? What would you say?
Find your phone number and call you up.
Oh, I did not pay her to say that, guys. I did not. Or a
That
mentor, right? Or somebody that can kind of be their peer.
exactly. I mean, yes, absolutely. To join up with someone who's experienced and has already walked through some of those valleys and can kind of help you detour some of the landmines. Definitely. But don't be afraid. Yeah, because yeah, it's so worth it. It is, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just think, as you were talking, I was thinking most nurse practitioners or physicians assistants, they need a medical director in order to run their practice. Medical doctors, they don't need that, but everyone needs some kind of training. So why not some support on the business side? And again,
Yeah.
this is not a plug for AMP, but it's just a plug for going and partnering with somebody that can
Mhm.
walk you through the elements that, it makes no sense to me. Like a business person would never open up a clinic and start treating patients without support. It just would
Mhm.
be unfathomable. But
Yeah.
yet so many practitioners open businesses without any business support.
Well, they do. And, I did it too. And I think that I was talking with my husband last night. I said, you know what it is? You decide you want to do this, and then you just
Just do
you
it.
get your supplies and you get your basic equipment and you figure out what your protocols are going to be, and then you just hang your sign on the door. and
Yeah.
and they do this in standard of care too. You think about the doctor that graduates from
Oh,
medical
yeah.
school, right? I've got a license, I've got a degree, I've got a building, I've got staff, I'm going to hang my name on the, but they don't ever think about long range down the road. How am I going to scale this Do I want to scale this? How would I go about? And that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like, okay, now I'm looking at things more from a business perspective versus just a patient to patient perspective. So that's why I'm so glad to be working with you, because it's like you don't always, it's kind of like our patients. They don't know what all is available to them. They think that, oh, my mom had diabetes, my dad had hypertension, cardiovascular disease runs in my family. This is just my sentence for life. No, it's not. There are other options for you. And that's what pairing up with someone like yourself and your company and your team. I mean, you've got a whole team, and you're not just a person, you're like a team, it gives me a better insight as to what the possibilities are and how I can go about doing that and accomplishing those things.
If I can share something you said, we just did your growth workshop not too long ago, and I hope this is okay.
Yeah.
But this was one of the greatest moments of my career so far. I asked you what your 10-year goal was, your 10-year revenue goal, and your answer was, I don't know. I mean, I have a number, but I don't know if it's right. And I asked you to give me the number. And I'm not gonna say what the number was, but it was a number. And you were like, I don't know if that's realistic. I'm like, okay, let's just go. Let's just go with it. And we mapped out your 10, 3, and 1 year goals, everything. And you said, oh my gosh, that number is doable. I
Yes.
it was to see the light in your eye where it was like, oh, it's not a dream. When you actually break the steps down, I can achieve that. And granted, it is about the number and you want to have a nice life and retire and all of that. But think about the number of people's lives you'll change with that big number. Like that is
Yes.
astounding.
Yes.
And now you
Exactly.
can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, we've been talking for a long time. I have two more questions. The first one is from me. I just want to know, after all that you shared with us, like what is the thing you are most proud of about the wellness firm?
Oh, oh gosh. The network, the people that I've met, the network that I'm gonna say we've created, but that has occurred,
Yeah,
and being able to bring what I consider to be the truth of your long-term health to the understanding of each individual. Just like what we were just talking about for what's possible in your business. It's like, I'm going to show you what's possible for your long-term health.
that's wonderful. Ah, that's great. Okay. My last question is something we do on every podcast. I stole it from the Diary of a CEO podcast, which is my favorite podcast. And I keep saying this at the end. So maybe one day he'll hear me and then maybe he'll say, Jody, I'm going to come on my podcast. No, that won't happen. But Steve Bartlett, he ends every podcast by asking his guest a question that the last guest asked for you, but they don't know who you are.
Oh,
Okay. So I'm
okay.
going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Question is, what was your favorite book, or what are you reading right now that is not related in your field?
Oh gosh. I'm reading Ryan Holiday right now. So
What is that?
he wrote The Stoic, but that's not my favorite.
Okay.
Ego is the enemy is my
Ego
favorite.
is the enemy. Okay. And is it
Yes.
a fiction book? Is it a not fiction book?
It's a philosophy book.
Philosophy book. Oh,
I'm a
in your
geek.
spare time when you're just resting around, you read philosophy books. Okay. I love that.
I think that we all should be introspective of who we are, and I've always strived to better understand why I've made the decisions I've made. Why am I where I am at now? What is my purpose? Where should I be? And how can I use that to help other people? And so, yeah, I was on another like webinar thing and someone mentions this book, and I thought, oh, let me check it out. So I ordered it, and it's not a very big book, but it was very interesting. I can see that because we think of ego as being, that big personality that's walking around saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. And it's not. Sometimes it's that person that won't say anything at all because they're
Mhm.
embarrassed, intimidated, afraid. It's their ego that prevents them. It's like, what will they think of me? What will they think about me? Will they think I'm pretty? Will they think my voice sounds right? Whatever it might be. That's an ego thing too.
So I'm going to put the link to Amazon to buy it in the show notes so that everybody can enjoy it. And I'm going to be the first one because That was, yeah, understanding that little voice in your head and how to live with it or manage it or use it to your advantage. Well, let everybody know if anyone lives in Texas and wants to come see you or talk to you, how do we find you?
Oh, yes. I'm in Lumberton, Texas, which is just a little bit north of Beaumont, Texas, which is off I-10 between Houston and Lake Charles. Yes. Our website is wellness-firm.com. And we do have an Instagram page. It's Butler Mary Ann is our Instagram. And the Wellness Firm by Mary Ann Butler is our Facebook page. And then you can fill out a survey on our website and someone will reach back to you, or you can call our office at 409-730-7005.
Wonderful. And I will put all of that in the show notes too, so that people can just go contact you if they wish. And I'm assuming if a provider wants to reach out to get some time with you,
Consulting, kind of. Yes, yes. Well, then they can reach me at any of those numbers, or I have another phone number, but I don't remember.
that's okay. That's okay. I mean, you've given a lot of ways for people to find you, and I just
Yes,
know how your heart operates that you would be delighted to do that. So,
yes, yes.
Marianne, thank you. This has been
Thank
one
you.
of the most fun podcasts I've had so far. I appreciate
Thank, thank you, Jody. I really do appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
it. My pleasure. All right. Well, have a wonderful day, and we will see you soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for listening to Beyond Hormones, the business of wellness. I hope that you're walking away with fresh ideas and real strategies you can use to grow your practice with profit and purpose. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the show so you never miss a conversation. And if something you heard today resonated with you, do me a favor, share this episode with a friend or a colleague. It's one of the best ways you can support the show, and it might be exactly what they need to hear right now. If you want even more tools and support, go ahead and head over to acceleratedmedicalpractices.com. Until next time, keep doing the work that matters. Your patients need you, and I am cheering you along every step of the way.